Yo, Damon, you ready to rip this podcast? Like, it's been a minute. You're back from Hawaii. Are you ready? You good?
Not really.
Ugh.
Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats podcast. We are live from downtown Phoenix. Unfortunately, I am Damon Fairall. He is Kevin Thomas. Mele Kalikimaka to all those who celebrate. And
Whoa!
yes, I am home from my very long my long yet too short Hawaii trip, Kevin. And I'm with you, all my closest friends in the world. Devastated to be here. How are we doing, Kevin?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you. I don't know if you guys can tell on the camera, but our boy Damon Dog, our sweet dog, has gotten a little tan. Got
Oh, what,
some
this
sun.
thing? This thing? Something light?
But yeah, Damon, how was your trip to Hawaii? Luke says he missed you in the chat. Tony says aloha. Everybody missed you.
Luke.
I had to do my best to hold down the fort while you were on the islands. You know, being an island boy over there. But yeah, how was your trip? Anything you can share with us from the trip?
Well, first off, I'd just like to say, shout out Kevin for holding down the fort, as he said. It is no small task to be doing this show by yourself, especially, I feel like, it's a little bit of a weird situation on this show. Kevin's the producer. I help out with some of the production side of things, but we don't really have a full-scaled producer. Doing all the hosting duties plus all the production duties as Kevin's been handling, no small task. Absolutely unbelievable. Clap it up for our guy. Woo! Yeah, Kevin. But as I stated already, unfortunately, I am back. And it's time to kind of, share this load again, Kevin. Pause. But so here we are.
Here we are.
And yeah, we got a lot to talk about. But yeah, just running through Hawaii. I was on Oahu. It was a beautiful wedding. Shout out my friends Cam and Victoria. The very lovely couple. Shout out my friends Alec and Julie, who got engaged as well. And yeah, just kind of a whole thing. Kevin spent a lot of time with my good pal Kevin. Maybe a little bit too much time. We were two of the only single boys on the trip, so it was mostly just me and Kevin, buddied up together. But yeah, we are back on the mainland for sure. And yeah, it was a great time. Just really just relaxed, Kevin. Drank a million Mai Tais every day, ate, 5,000 calories worth of food every day. And I gained about 5 pounds, and now I'm here.
Some good Hawaii weight. Vacation weight never hurt nobody. I was thinking to myself this morning as I saw you walk in, I was like, that boy looked like he had a good time. You know what? And
What's that supposed to mean?
No, like you look like you were recharged. You had some glow. You looked rested.
That dude
you got
looked like he had a few too many pieces of Spam while he was out there.
It looked like you had a good time. My point being, though, if you could have made it a better time by taking one current Arizona Wildcat with you, who would you have taken with you?
Oh, no question about it. Big Jonah Savaiinaea, Hawaiian native.
Love to hear that.
No question, right? Like, it's got to be him. The guy's from Hawaii. I think he was in Hawaii while the NFL draft was ongoing. Yeah, some people, there's some rumors that I may have been at his draft party, Kevin, as he gets picked to my Dolphins. I will say, now that we're kind of moving on to the NFL draft a little bit, Kevin, I don't know if you saw the phone call that Jonah had with Dolphins GM and head coach, Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel, respectively. But Jonah went to the same high school as Tua in about 6 years before, 5-6 years before. But it's a very small, tight-knit community, the Polynesian football community, especially out there in Hawaii, where there's about, probably about like 4 really highly competitive high schools, and all the rest kind of are like seep into mediocrity more so. So going to the same high school, they know each other, and Jonah was like, you could tell he was like crying and getting emotional on the phone call, knowing that he was going to be playing with Tua. And it was cool. It just was cool that quote about how he's only protected Polynesian quarterbacks in his life, that fired me the frick up, Kevin. I was juiced after hearing that. And I just feel like it's cool for our guy, Jonah. He gets to kind of continue that trend. And he said something like, God wants me to protect my people. And I think that's just that's awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah, like on a list of quotes that when you hear them from a kid that just got drafted to your team that you root for, that fire you up, that has to be like a top 3 pick, right? Like there's I'll die out there on the field for you, coach, like whatever. But that is something else. And yeah, Spears was on yesterday in your absence, as he always is.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave us that quote, and it was awesome to hear.
My
that.
arch nemesis, Justin Spears. But yeah, I mean, it's not a clear-cut answer there, right? Because not only one Hawaiian they got drafted from the University of Arizona, but another in Tetairoa McMillan as well. Who is from Hawaii, but probably a little bit more of a California boy, all things considered, when it comes to where he grew up and whatnot. But I actually went through T-Mac's hometown. I drove through it real quick. Very, very beautiful area of the island, that the east side of Oahu. Unreal, guys. Check it out if you haven't done so already. But
yeah, make the drive down.
That drive, Kevin, that drive is beautiful. I didn't know Oahu had it like that. I thought it was definitely a lot more like city town based, which it is. But there's still some beautiful nature. As we dive back into my Hawaiian vacation, Kevin, I'm sure we will multiple times on this episode.
Damon's gonna become that like stereotypical like Instagram influencer girl that like once every couple months just says, "Oh, take me back," with like a picture of the beach.
Literally, I think I've said it like 5 times this morning.
You have. I've counted, and it's been 3. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
God,
we're counting.
I wish I was in Hawaii again. But yeah, I'll be doing that for a while. And I'm sure it will not annoy anybody. So that's perfect. But
I'm going to Atlanta in June.
That sounds fun.
I'm sure I'll come back like, Georgia. No, it's not the same.
Georgia.
Whoa!
I mean, there's already a song for you. Beautiful song.
Damon went to the islands and came back with some different type of energy, folks.
100%.
But I wanted to ask you specifically, because you are a Dolphins fan, right? 1, how hype were you when you found out Big Jonah went to your team? And 2, how do you think Big Jonah fits with the Dolphins? Because I've asked a bunch of people about that. But you are someone who I think watches more Dolphins football than anybody I know personally. So I will give you the floor to talk a little bit about Big Jonah's fit.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, and I'll be real. Since I started producing the Cardinals show, I've had less time to sit down and like really dive into Dolphins football than I have in the past. But the Dolphins are notoriously horrific at picking offensive linemen, especially in my lifetime, especially guards. So I guess you could take that in a way, now that I'm really kind of spelling it out. This is not my intention with it, but that's kind of scary when you prop it up like that. But I do think that Jonah is one of like the safest, highest floor picks in this entire draft, because he's just so massive and he's so athletic for his size. You saw his RAS score, like he's like a 97th percentile athletic score for a guard. And so I think really just like Jonah is a guy that I feel very comfortable is going to be an above average starting guard in the NFL. I don't know what his ability is going to be playing tackle, but I think that Jonah is going to start right away playing left guard for the Miami Dolphins. He'll be a starter from the jump. And I just feel like he went to a place where he's kind of the clear cut guy, number 1 on the depth chart already, which, typically I would say is the case for a 2nd round pick, especially a high 2nd round pick, guy that the Dolphins traded up for. But, it's not always the case. There are teams that have better depth in certain areas and whatnot. So I do like the fit a lot. I think that, maybe this is a little underrated as well, but I love the poly guys going to like warm weather places. I think that's like, they want to be in the warm weather places. So go, T-Mac getting to go to North Carolina, Jonah getting to go to Miami, like those are good fits. And yeah, obviously I was hyped up as a Dolphins fan. Sucks that we traded a 3rd round pick, I think, in the process. That was like it was a steep trade based off of how much they moved up, but hard to not be pumped up about, a player that you love from one of your favorite college teams or from your favorite college team, your school, to your favorite pro team. And yeah, pumped up about about Big Jonah being in Miami. So those are my thoughts, Kevin. Did you have any sort of premonition or feeling about any of the draft picks in particular, any of the fits that you loved in particular with these 4 guys who got drafted?
I think the next person that we were going to talk about is the person that I think I'm most intrigued about their fit with their team. Obviously, T-Mac, we already discussed him and him going to the Panthers. We can talk about that a little bit as well, your opinion on that.
Mhm.
But I don't think his fit with the Panthers is the most intriguing from just like an objective, everything equal pound for pound perspective. I think it's Tyler Loop to the Ravens. Justin Spears and I spoke about this on yesterday's pod. Make sure to go check out our chat with him yesterday. But I think Tyler Loop to the Ravens is in such a uniquely perfect spot for Tyler Loop, right? I think like going to a team, first of all, getting drafted as a kicker, that, the team's not going to just draft a kicker just to draft a kicker. I feel like that would be a waste of a pick if you don't truly believe that kicker is going to be on your roster within the next couple of seasons. And with Justin Tucker, I don't even know what the word is, but I'll say embattled with a lot of scandals right now. He's got some things to defend himself against and some things to figure out on his own end. And the Ravens have a lot to figure out with the kicker situation as a result of that alleged conduct. And so I think Tyler Loop fits in perfectly here as a guy who at Arizona was the most steady player across a very, I will say, tumultuous tenure that the team that he played on had from a results standpoint, right? I think Tyler Loop being able to show off his consistency within an inconsistent place, and I think Tyler Loop being able to show off his leg. I know some Ravens fans were, I'll say, dismayed with selecting a kicker in the draft that when you go back and look at his stats, I mean, he has great stats, but I think like Ravens fans wanted to see Justin Tucker. Like they wanted to see pro Justin Tucker coming out of college. You know what I mean? And I don't think you're never going to get that. You're always going to be disappointed if that's your expectation. But getting a guy who can kick from legitimately 65 yards is halfway there. You know what I mean? And his main thing is not even his power. I think you would agree with me by saying that Tyler Loop's power is the perfect cherry and hot fudge on top of the milkshake, to draw back to that analogy from months ago. That because he's a consistent, accurate kicker.
Yeah.
And I think that the leg that he has, that he's developed, only adds on top of that gravy for the Ravens. And so I couldn't be more excited to see how he fits in with next year's Baltimore team, because that's a team that also is going to be playing in high leverage games, that is looking to win a championship. And it's going to be awesome to see how Tyler Loop can fit into that culture and that system. Which fit is your favorite between, or maybe not favorite, but most interested for you to watch going into next NFL season, between T-Mac, Tyler Loop, JCM, Big Jonah to your Dolphins? Actually, we'll subtract Big Jonah because that's a biased thing for you. I know you're able to be unbiased, but like, you know what I mean? It's your favorite team. So of course you're going to be more interested in that. So of the 3, T-Mac, Loop, JCM, who do you think has the most intriguing fit next season?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying real quick about Tyler Loop, Justin Tucker's career college field goal percentage was 83.3%. So it's not as if he was just, he hit everything in college himself. Tyler Loop, you said, was at 85, I believe, Kevin?
I don't know for certain, but I think that's what I remember from draft weekend.
I'll get us a number real quick. Tyler Loop is at, for his career, 83.8%. So they're both in the mid 83 range. Tyler Loop had more attempts, I believe, because he was the starting kicker for 4 years rather than 2 years for Justin Tucker. I feel like that's kind of a short-sighted thing by Ravens fans. I would venture to guess that most reasonable Ravens fans are not sitting there comparing,
Agreed,
their new potential kicker to who is probably the greatest kicker in NFL history. Also, it does mention, like, we have to mention that Justin Tucker is not cut yet. He's still a member of the Baltimore Ravens. I think there's a chance Tyler Loop has to beat him out, which after last season, Justin Tucker was, quite bad. It's not impossible. He definitely has a good shot at being able to do that. But, it's not like a foregone conclusion. Although, it does. I would say that, John Harbaugh being a special teams guy, like he was a special teams coordinator before he became head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. He knows special teams. They care about that aspect of the game. The Ravens value special teams so much. The fact that they're willing to use a draft pick on Tyler Loop, I think, speaks volumes of who Tyler Loop is as a person, but also a player. and that, he could have a very, very long NFL football career if things break his way. So, I love that fit personally. I think that we're looking at potentially Tyler Loop being the kicker of the Ravens for a very long time, and that's a successful organization with a great quarterback, and could be playing some very high level games. So, love that fit. But I understand what you're saying about T-Mac, but I think just from like an interesting to watch perspective, he's definitely the guy for me, Kevin. That I'm really going to be locking in for Panthers games to see what he looks like on that field with Bryce Young. I know they have a bit of a prior relationship. Bryce Young definitely, there were some rumors that he like had a lot of input into getting T-Mac because they're both Orange County guys playing high school football. They've definitely known each other for a long time, and so hopefully that helps with the on-field chemistry as well. So yeah, I think that that's my most intriguing one. But overall, I think that the one that's maybe the biggest wild card, because I think Jonah's a starter. Tyler Loop is probably the starting kicker for the Ravens for a while. T-Mac is going to be, in my opinion, a bona fide number one receiver in the NFL. I think Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is really, I think it could be very interesting because I think that his career could go a multitude of different ways, right? Like he's a guy where you could see him getting cut before after minicamp, after OTAs. Like maybe he just doesn't look that great out there. And he was a 7th round pick. Teams cut 7th round picks every offseason that they just drafted. I think there's also a world where, Austin Eckler is really old in the receiving back. Brian Robinson is a good running back, but he's in a contract year. Maybe they throw him some of those carries, on the early downs. They keep Eckler fresh for those 3rd down situations. Eckler also has some injury problems, but maybe Krosky-Merritt's getting a good portion of the carries as a rookie, Kevin. I think that there's a world in which, he's proves to that Washington backfield and that Washington brass that he's a guy that they need to give a lot of playing time to. So I think that Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is really the guy that I've pinpointed as being like maybe the most, I think his position is most volatile. So therefore, for me, it makes it the most interesting.
That's a good pick. I think, what adds to that is kind of something similar to Tyler Loop's context of the Commanders, left hand up. Shout out to Luke in the chat. We lead the league in Lukes right now, Damon. I don't know if you knew that, but we do lead the league in Lukes. So one of our many Lukes in the chat, Commanders fan. But I think that's a team that's going to be playing in more high leverage games than the Panthers, than than the Dolphins. But I think I think that's also just a pure interesting for Arizona fans, right? Like right now, Arizona has the most alum in the NBA playoff of any college basketball program going right now. And I think that like if you are on the outskirts of Arizona athletics fandom and you are just a casual Arizona athletics fan, that is perfectly fine. But I also think that makes you more interested in the guys who are playing later into the year. And so I think you're right. I think JCM is for sure not only one of the more underrated stories to watch for Arizona alum going into next NFL season, but certainly could be the most interesting because of the volatility of his situation as well, but also the high floor or high ceiling, low floor of his potential with the Commanders there. And I also wanted to throw this by you. I'm sure you saw Quali Conley signed as an undrafted free agent to the Bengals shortly after the draft. Do we have any thoughts on that one, how he fits with the Bengals who are looking to rebound after last season's terribly disappointing result?
Yeah, I think that's a team that the running back situation isn't all that set in stone. I think Chase Brown had a really good season this past year and projects to be the starting running back, but past that, they don't have a ton of, depth that you look at and think to yourself, wow, those guys are unbeatable. Zach Moss, not that great of a running back. He's the backup right now. They also drafted a guy. So let me find that real quick. But I do think that there's an avenue to making the team, say a Zach Moss doesn't look very good in camp. Like he's slowing down a little bit. He's a big running back and, he's taken some licks before in his NFL career. But yeah, I mean, the Bengals are a team that certainly doesn't have a set in stone, running back room. Taj Brooks was that guy, the Texas Tech running back who we watched this past season, and I think that he could carve out a role for himself as well. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that my guess would be that Quali Conley probably doesn't make the team. just because I don't think he's dynamic enough, Kevin. But I do think that he put himself in a situation where, there's not a ton of depth in that running back room. He could potentially carve out a role for himself.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think anytime you're, like you said, anytime you are an undrafted free agent, you're fighting for your spot on the team. You don't have even the draft picks, right? You're fighting for your spot on the team. So hopefully Quali makes a team. Hopefully Quali, we can see him doing things in the NFL. But I also don't really see this as a cemented landing spot for him, I'll say, in that regard, Damon. But did you have any other thoughts? Oh, you know what? I'd be a fool. I would be an idiot. I'd be a nincompoop. I'd be a dummy to not ask Damon Dog, Shedeur Sanders, what happened? Ooh. Damon Dog talk Shedeur Sanders. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, you did put me on the spot a little bit here, but that's okay. We did this last time with Shedeur as well.
Yeah.
And it got a decent amount of views on YouTube. Shout out the PHNX Sun Devils crew for their, Shedeur Sanders is falling short that they did. But yeah, I think it just goes to show, as far as Shedeur Sanders, that he just wasn't valued by NFL brass and NFL front office folks the same way that he was valued by media folks. And Kevin, I'll go as far to take it here. I think that this was a clear industry plant situation with Shedeur Sanders. I'm not even playing with you. I think that Shedeur Sanders was a bit of an attempted industry plant play. Do you think that this has some legs? I really like Dion tried to convince everybody that Shedeur was a first-round pick quarterback.
My son's going in the top 5. Where your son going?
My son's working out with Tom Brady. My son's, dueling it out with Cam Ward in pre-draft stuff. They could both go 1-2, right? All of it, Kevin, all of it was this attempt at trying to put Shedeur at this status that he just was not in. And NFL teams looked at it and they said, this is a guy with a 500 record, who never won a big game his entire life, had the best player in college football on his team and still didn't do anything. Like, I'll be honest, like, I feel like the NFL front office people are just that there's a reason that they're doing their jobs. They're smart people, and they saw through the facade of, we're going to do everything in our power to make this guy and manufacture him into being a first-round pick. And it failed, and it's sad. But here we are, Shedeur Sanders drafted after Dylan Gabriel, who stinks, by the way. And, and now they're sharing, an absolute clown car of a Cleveland Browns quarterback room. It's special. It's special, really. And this is coming from a guy, Kevin, by the way, that the Dolphins had 3 fifth-round picks. I wanted Shedeur Sanders with one of those 3 fifth-round picks because I thought the value was there at that point. But they were talking about this man as a top 5 pick for years, for multiple years. They tried to convince us of it. Not even close. Not even close. Love it.
Damn it, Damon. I missed you, man.
Yeah.
I missed Damon Dog in this here studio, riffing just like he just did.
100%. And then also, like, straight through the doors, I was already giving Kevin like a, why is Kenny tweeting highlights from the Peach Bowl? I mean, what are we doing?
Damon
and ASU fans are in the replies. Yeah, coach, flame him. Guys, you guys lost that football game. You lost that football game. Why is your head coach tweeting clips as if it was, a national championship W? It's unbelievable, Kevin. No one beats ASU fans at losing massive games. No one. I'm back.
He's so back. He's never been more back, chat. Damon Dog is back better than ever, roasting ASU fans and coaches, letting Shedeur Sanders in Colorado have it, letting Prime get a little bit of a shout there as well. Let me tussle, let me at him. Damon Dog doing his thing. Catch him on a cigarette box near you. But anyway, we are going to talk a lot more about Arizona's newest international prospect.
Let's do it.
Mr. Worldwide, Tommy Lloyd. We're going to talk a little bit about him after this quick break on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Don't you go anywhere. Well, Damon, I want to talk to you today about our friends over at Branded Bills.
Please do.
If you are a fan of hats, comfortable hats, the most beautiful hats in the game, check out our friends over at Branded Bills because they have you with the hookup. Our friends over at Branded Bills are a local company from Mesa, Arizona, and they have the best custom headwear in the game for you to elevate your brand with Branded Bills. They have truckers, fitteds, beanies, all types of baseball cap looks. You need a t-shirt, they got you. And they also do great stuff with the U of A. They have the exclusive campus collection that you can only find in the campus store. Some of those hats are online for sure, so make sure to check out our friends over at Branded Bills. Head to brandedbills.com, use code BBPHNX for 20% off your first order.
Let's also talk about our friends over at Empire Today. Empire Today has a great deal for you guys, for our friends, our PHNX listeners. It is going to be $350 off your new flooring with promo code PHNX. That's $350 off, guys, which is a lot of cash to save. Go to empiretoday.com for additional details. But, just like, you want to have that home court advantage, that home floor advantage, Kevin, in sports. You want the same thing at your actual house, right? And that's where Empire Today comes in. They're going to fit you with the best flooring for the lowest price possible, and they're going to do it way better than the big box stores. They're going to individualize it. They're going to come to your house, show you their virtual floor designer. What is that floor going to look like before it even gets installed, Kevin, so that you get a good idea and you're not paying, boku bucks just trying to get yourself some flooring that, you don't even like that all that much. Empire Today is gonna fix that process, gonna skip the hassle all with that, and they're gonna show you exactly what that flooring looks like before you get it installed, and they're gonna give you that big fat promo discount. Doesn't get any better than that. Empire Today. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. PHNX listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHNX. Yes, you heard that right. $350 discount with promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHNX for full details.
Also, real quick to wrap up our conversation of the football news and notes, Arizona, we mentioned it yesterday, did sign a long snapper. Damon, what is your reaction to our guy Justin Spears not getting the shot at living out a lifelong dream?
Absolutely devastating, Kevin. I thought Justin did everything that he could.
He put out his film.
Yeah.
He benevolently got in contact with the coaches. They were receptive. He had a tryout. It went well.
He left it all out on the line. And I think Justin would be the first one to tell you that his snap on the field wasn't the cleanest snap of his career. But I do think that it's something that we could have built off of, something we could have worked off of. But instead, Arizona, gets themselves a 5-star punter in or long snapper in the process. Whatever, I'm pretty sure Spears was a 6-star, so not all that impressive when you really think about it that way. But yeah, shout out. I am gonna find his name for us here. Shout out our guy
Justin Spears, the one true long snapper. No, I'm kidding.
Our guy Broden Mullen, which is just an unbelievable name.
Is he from Montana?
He is from Great Falls, Montana.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that.
5-star All-American long snapper. Probably figures to be a starter next year. So yeah, gonna be having a new face back there with the special teams crew, as well as new kicker. Gonna be a big facet of the game to monitor, Kevin, because we all know how important special teams is. It's very underrated in terms of, the impact it has on a game, especially in college football, where the guys that aren't very good really, really stick out at you. So, long snappers aren't necessarily as loud of a position, but little things that they do can really hurt the process of punting, kicking, all the above. So, yeah, I think, hopefully this is he seems like a really high caliber recruit for special teams side of things. I know that their grading and stuff for and scouting is a little bit different and sometimes hard to monitor and follow because they do it from, like he would be like a 2-star on 24/7, but he's a 5-star long snapper because they don't grade them the same way. That being said, I think getting a guy who's considered to be one of the best long snappers in his class is, a win any day of the week. So hopefully Arizona shored up a massive need here and, just devastated for our guy, Justin.
Yeah, again, did everything right, and it's a lesson at home, right, Chad? It's a lesson at home that sometimes even when you do everything right, it just goes wrong. And so I hope Justin Spears can recover from this news and still find a smile this week. Be Calm, See Clearly, we appreciate you for being in the chat with your super chat. Be Calm, See Clearly says, CD with the beautiful lips, heart. Thank you. Be calm, see clearly. Taking no days off, BCSC. Welcoming back Damon with a super chat. We appreciate you. Damon, I wanted to ask you.
Welcome to the fan base, Sidi Gueye. This is
true. This is true.
Well, this is what you will be receiving. Be Calm, See Clearly super chats.
I mean, honestly, we should probably start using Be Calm, See Clearly as like a recruiting chip.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You commit to Arizona, you might get a super chat from Be Calm, See Clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all these recruits could possibly ever want. And also our guy, Alex, shout out to you in the chat, says Damon Dog looks tan. And I wanted to ask you, my guy, the chat, they wanted to know why you were gone. I wanted to know why you were gone. You know, I was worried about you, Damon Dog. Were you taking care of yourself on the beach? What was was there tanning oil? Were you going on purpose for it? Was that au natural? Were you wearing sunscreen?
Yeah.
Like, were you being safe on the beach, man?
I know this is gonna come to shock a lot of people, but I'm a pretty pale guy.
What?
So I burn more than I tan, but I burn to tan. Like I'm one of those guys. I can tan a little bit. It's just a very long process. It involves,
like a rotisserie Damon.
Yeah, it's like this is going to be a whole summer long thing. And this was a good basis that we got out in Hawaii this week, but if we want to keep this and sustain it, it's going to be a whole summer long process. I got to burn to tan a little bit. So I try not to overdo the sunscreen. Did have a little bit of tanning oil, didn't use it too much. Definitely use the sunscreen more on like the more impact areas, Kevin. So like neck's getting a ton of sunscreen on the back,
forehead,
here, back of the ears. I have some face sunscreen that I put on specifically, or like this area of my arms is a little bit more tan than the rest. I spray right there and leave it's somewhat of there's a process that goes into it. But yeah, really got to just kind of sometimes be all natural and just let the sun do what it does. And there was a portion of this week where my back got really kind of messed up on like the second day, and I was like, this could get nasty. But I did a good job of sustaining it for the rest of the trip and not messing it up, Kevin.
You went au natural. You went back to your roots of just doing what you do, almost like you're at Gila River. But Tommy Lloyd, you know what I'm saying? Tommy Lloyd is doing what he does best. He's flexing his muscle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He don't need no sunscreen when going overseas because Tommy Lloyd is always protected with his skills. Sidi Gueye has committed to the University of Arizona. The 6'11" big who played for Real Madrid this past rotational whatever season you want to call it, because I know they have a lot of ups and downs. Like you play on the junior team, sometimes you play on the senior team. So this past year, he's played for Real Madrid, looked incredible. He's Senegalese, obviously lives in Spain right now. Mr. Worldwide, Mr. International, Tommy Lloyd does it again. Shane is yelling, grab your passports, Damon. I guess we can get to this now because it was something I had in the rundown as kind of like a joke of like how many hours until John Rothstein tweets at Tommy Lloyd to grab his passport, because he's going to be joining, Gueye will be joining Krivas, who's from Lithuania, ADO, who's from, Aussie, oi, 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 and then Dwayne Aristode, who's from the Netherlands. So, like, I know people were saying that Tommy Lloyd has to focus on high school recruiting, at least from a recruit standpoint, not from a transfer standpoint, focus on high school players, and the international guys aren't getting it done, and blah, 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 blah. I think that narrative is a bunch of crap. Like, I don't think it's based in any real facts of what goes on the basketball court.
Yeah.
Because I think when you look at the list of guys overseas that Tommy Lloyd has recruited dating back to his time at Gonzaga, it is an incredibly long list of very talented players, lots of NBA players as well. And when you look at who's currently on the team, Krivas, ADO, Dwayne Aristode, Nick Arenas is going into my point right here. You put that with the high school recruits that he has gotten, some of the best, Koa Pete, Braden Burries. Like you have this great mix of international recruits, domestic recruits, and I think with Tommy Lloyd, when he got to Arizona, and you and I have spoken about this on the show before, like my opinion that over time he'll get better at recruiting high school guys, but I don't think it's that drastically different for him. I think he just already has the inroads overseas. He already has the experience with like a team like Real Madrid, where he got Henri Veesaar from, for example. Like he already has that pipeline set up. I think it's about him making inroads like that in the States. You know what I mean? Like when you are the international recruiting guy at Gonzaga, Mark Few's not sending you. I mean, he might have, but you get my point here. Mark Few's not sending you to Great Falls, Montana, to find the next American Henri Veesaar.
Yeah.
He's sending you to Spain to go look at Henri Veesaar. You know what I mean? So I feel like this is a huge step in the right direction for next season of Arizona basketball. I know that, you know, Sidi's probably not going to play a huge amount of minutes next season, just based on, I think, like when you look at his tape, his frame, he has a lot of filling out to do. I'll say, in my opinion, that's like my personal take on it. Watching the development, I'll frame it like this. When you watch the development of Henri Veesaar at Arizona, I kind of feel like Sidi Gueye is going to follow a similar trajectory. And I don't think that they're the same players. Ironically, I think their ceiling is about the same. Like I think their ceiling is just as high. If you look at Sidi Gueye on online from scouts, NBA potential is what people are telling you left and right. His ceiling is incredibly high. He is a very versatile player, great defensive skill set, which is what stood out most to me.
Yeah.
With a guy like that, because he's not the best shooter. Like he doesn't have the greatest stroke, I think, like from mid range or from three. He has great touch, so he can make the mid range.
Mm-hmm.
He can hit the floaters. He can hit some layups, but I wouldn't trust him shooting the ball as much as per se we trusted Henri Veesaar. I think that's where their game truly differs. And Veesaar obviously has the vertical advantage of about 3-4 inches on him, but this kid is so versatile. Like he can block shots, he can defend the perimeter, he can defend the pick and roll on the perimeter, and still get back to block a shot at the rim. On the offensive side, he's an incredible, like, slept on passer. Like you'll see a lot of, if he gets the ball at the top of the perimeter and he drives to the hoop, he's very comfortable kicking it out with accuracy to a shooter. And I get a lot of Henri Veesaar vibes, just in a little bit of a different way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think more playing time than Stephen got last year.
Yes.
I think more, right? Even with the slight frame, I think more based on the skill set that he has right now today. And chat, he's only 17. He's not going to turn 18 until October of this year. So this is I know I called him a developmental big on Twitter because he is a developmental big, and this is the developmental big that, as fans, you're looking at Arizona saying, all right, they need this, and they need a developmental big, and they need that. Check off developmental big. Regardless of how good you think Gueye is right now, this is a developmental piece for Tommy Lloyd, whether it be for 1 year or for 2 years, because I think the scouts are going to be on him like white on rice, man. I think they're seriously going to want this kid. The frame, the athleticism, the versatility, they will take him as a project guy, even if he's not ready for the NBA in a couple years. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited about the things he could bring to next year's team, specifically with some of the weaknesses next year's team might have had without him.
I think it was a great breakdown that you just gave there, Kevin, and really getting back to that like Emmanuel Steven comparison. I think that, you know, Emmanuel Steven was big man 4 on the depth chart for the non-conference portion of Arizona's season. He didn't play a whole lot because of that. You look at a guy like Gueye, I think that, you know, a lot of his playing time next year probably will come against some of the lower competition, but he's big man 3 on the depth chart. And Henri Veesaar got some run even when he wasn't, you know, he wasn't in the Krivas Awaka role of necessarily being like starter minutes like those guys were earlier in the season. But, you know, I think you're going to look at Gueye getting about 10, 15 a game against some of the lower competition, and that's going to be where he's going to have the most opportunity to develop at this young portion of his career, and in practice against, you know, these really skilled Arizona big men that Tommy Lloyd is, you know, grouped together already. So I think he plays more than Emmanuel Steven did last year. And I think, as you said, he's one of those guys where similar to like a Veesaar in different ways, but that he's kind of a unicorn. Just his build, his profile, a shot blocker who can also kind of defend the perimeter a little bit, who also has a little bit of passing chops, despite being such a tall player and a post player. Really valuable stuff that a lot of times can't be taught to these hyper athletic, coordinated guys. They just don't have the ability to pass the basketball. So, yeah, I mean, I love that movement aspect of his game as well, from mobility, not only running the floor, but mobility in terms of getting the ball moving in the offense, and I think that fits really well with Tommy Lloyd. But yeah, Kevin, let's go ahead and bring up his stats that he had in the U18 Next Gen Euro League. From I think this is a combination of this year and last year. 7.3 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, just over a block per game, and almost a 60% field goal percentage. Sidi Gueye is he's a rising player here, Kevin. And he got some senior minutes for Real Madrid, which is no joke. That's one of the better clubs in the world when it comes to Euro basketball. And yeah, I mean, it's impressive that he's already getting a call up to one of these teams. It's so massive, like a Real Madrid. They clearly see something in him, and hopefully Tommy Lloyd is able to kind of weed that out of him.
I agree. I think when you look at, and this is kind of what I wanted to ultimately get to with this conversation, and I think we should talk a little bit more about Sidi Gueye before we get there, but I think in a little bit I want to talk about Tommy Lloyd's international pipeline, because his ability to recruit international players, and I want to give you credit for this, Damon. This is a take that you've given on this show, I don't know how many times, multiple times, about how, look at what Tommy Lloyd's been able to do with the international talent that he's brought in. Look at the developmental success that he has had with those players. That is going to be a sign to other international recruits that, hey, if I want a chance at the NBA and I want to get better at college, like in the college ranks, I think maybe Tommy Lloyd is the guy that I should hitch my wagon to, and I should really chase that NBA check with Tommy Lloyd. I think that when Sidi Gueye was asked why Arizona, he had this to say about why he chose Arizona. He said, Coach Lloyd is one of the top coaches in college, and he has coached many international players before and showed me how I can improve and produce in his system.
Love it.
I love that too. I think when you look at what I think a lot of fans criticize Tommy Lloyd for is sometimes his system, which I think is one of the things you should probably never criticize Tommy Lloyd for, because I think his system clearly works in terms of player development. I think that Tommy Lloyd is a guy that clearly the top international talent around the world not only are aware of, but they want to play for him. And when you combine that with what he's doing with USA basketball already on the state side, watch out, because Tommy Lloyd, I think, literally, I'm not trying to be like hyperbolic. I'm not trying to be a homer. I think this is just the trajectory that we're on here. Tommy Lloyd is going to be one of those coaches that, if you want to have a top 5 class in the country, I'm not saying like as of this year, but I'm saying he has the potential to be one of those recruiters that you're going to have to out-recruit Tommy Lloyd to get those top guys going forward. Because if a Koa Pete, a Braden Burries, a Dwayne Aristode, a Sidi Gueye, like, he's getting them from all over the world, and they're all some of the best. And so I think when it shows that when Arizona and Tommy Lloyd focus their energy on a player, I think it's an encouraging sign, and I think it's a big green flag for that player's potential at the pro level. I don't know how you feel about that, but clearly Sidi Gueye feels positively about it. And to wrap up the quote here before I let you answer this topic, he went on to say they had players like Umar Ballo, Christian Koloko, Ben Matherin, and many other international players, which helps to see others have done the same journey. And I think I added this quote because I think it's kind of echoing what he said in the first quote, but I think this one's really important because it adds to where he sees his ceiling at. Why is he going to Arizona? To be in the NBA, to be a professional basketball player at the highest level.
Yeah.
So I think, and I don't feel like that's just athlete talk of like, everyone thinks they're the best and everyone wants to be a pro. Like, this is a player who can go to any school, could stay at Real Madrid, could do whatever he wanted to do to get to his goal, and saw Arizona and Tommy Lloyd as the best vehicle to get to where he wants to be. I think that's a very encouraging sign. And I feel like you echo the same sentiment, but how do you feel about that?
Yeah, certainly there's been some question marks as to Tommy Lloyd's ability to recruit the high-level high school guys, and that's been proven false this cycle. I think Arizona probably could have gotten Elijah Arenas if it wanted to. Arizona did get Braden Burries and Koa Pete, right? So and LeBron James's son, regardless of whether he is a high caliber recruit or not, he is a high caliber recruit because of who his dad is. And Tommy was able to nail down all of those guys. I think we knew that he was this kind of recruiter from an international standpoint, Kevin, but it's always good to see, getting a talented young prospect from one of the better teams in all of Europe to come along and buy into this development rather than, taking the Real Madrid route and just continuing upon that, because as you mentioned, he very easily could have done that. Like there's nothing that was precluding him from doing that. And he probably could have made more money doing that. I would imagine being on the professional Real Madrid team than being like the third string big man at Arizona. But, I don't know what maybe more of the peripheral guys, in men's college basketball D1 are making from an NIL standpoint right now. But I love the move. I felt like Tommy was maybe pushing away from the international guys a little bit. Like for me, even like you look at Adele Orso, like, yeah, he's from Australia, but he was playing basketball in America. Tommy Lloyd had a good look at his caliber of play was going to be like,
good point.
In America. So it's a little different from that perspective for me. I kind of see this as more of like in that Henri Veesaar neck of things where it's like, this is a guy, he's kind of a wild card, but you got to trust Tommy Lloyd to find a big man in Europe, an international guy that's going to come and develop and be a big piece of this program, hopefully moving forward.
Yeah. And you bring up the wild card, and I got a little distracted because I've watched a lot of It's Always Sunny recently, and Charlie is the wild card. Now I'm imagining like ADO as Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just hopping on the court, banging a huge three, just going wild card, and running down the field because he does scream and yell after he hits anything. He'll hit anything and just go, oh, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
He does.
Like he'll do whatever.
He does he's big on the shirt.
Yeah, huge on that. So I feel like we need him as like to get even crazier next year. But that's neither here nor there. I agree with you. I think that it did feel like Tommy Lloyd was beginning to. I wouldn't necessarily say push away from the international ranks, but I would say it did feel like with this specific recruiting cycle, with the high caliber of players that he was targeting. Now we know Koa Pete, Braden Burries, Elijah Arenas were among those players he was targeting. That I feel like took a lot of his focus away from what was going on internationally. I think this is kind of like, how some coaches have more of a gimmick's the wrong word, but I'll say gimmick with their recruiting of like, this is who I get. Mm-hmm. This is where I go. This is who I get. You know what I mean? And I feel like Tommy Lloyd is not cut from that cloth. I think he is much more of a, where are the best players this year? Like, how do I get them on my team? Where are the best fits? I'll go there. And I think we'll see a lot more of this kind of like, mixed match of international and, stateside guys who have super high potential from the international side and probably high, pedigree from the stateside. So I think we're going to continue to see this like very mixed matched potluck type of roster construction from Tommy Lloyd. And I think it's a good thing. I think you continue to create pipelines in areas that other coaches aren't.
One thing I really trust Tommy Lloyd to do is find the right personality fits.
Correct.
I don't think he's going to bring in guys that don't want to be here, that are looking, to better themselves or improve their draft stock over, wanting to contribute to this team and this program's ability to win. So I completely have full trust in Tommy when it comes to that aspect of things. I think that's why it was so shocking that Henri Veesaar transferred, because he was a guy that it felt like it went against everything that Henri Veesaar had shown us up to that point in terms of sticking around, carving out a role for himself, so on and so forth. And it feels like Tommy has done a great job of putting together groups of guys that aren't just looking to, cash in on the next biggest paycheck or whatnot. Like even a KJ Lewis, yeah, he's probably making more money at his new stop, but I think at the end of the day, you can look at that and say, like, no, that's a guy who wanted a bigger role for himself. He wanted to be more the focal point of an offense and see if he had what it take to be in the NBA. Like that, I view that differently than like maybe a Henri Veesaar. But you look at Sidi Gueye, and I think that hopefully this is the right personality fit. You view those quotes. He says all the right things. You just gotta, I think, at the end of the day, hope that he's not a guy who jumps ship after 1 year and sees his eyes light up at, UNLV comes calling and says, we're going to offer you the starting center job. I think it really does come down to that. And do you fully trust Tommy Lloyd the way that you did when you made this commitment, or have things changed for you? Will be interesting to monitor going into next season. And it does feel like this roster, for the most part, is pretty fleshed out. I think, you obviously you have the Carter Bryant domino of things, entering the draft as I was gone, which felt a little targeted,
Felt targeted, but I think
we've
he was
been
also
talking
like,
about it for a long time, but
and he also knew you were in Hawaii. So he knew, like,
that's kind of my
this
thing,
is
though.
but this is like the expected outcome. I got you. I'll just get this. You don't got to work or nothing on it. You don't got to post no graphics. You make no tweets. We're just going to slide it in during your vacation. Yeah. No worries. You'll get back, be like, oh, that officially happened? Okay, cool. And then
it's just like we've been talking about it on this show for, 3 weeks leading up to it.
Yeah.
Doing like, is Carter Bryant going to stay? Type shows. And
Carter Bryant asking for Warzone partners on Instagram. Is he going to come back?
And then I lose for a week, or I leave for a week, and all of a sudden this guy's like, yeah, I'm actually going to the league. But yeah, I mean, obviously not a situation where he's set in stone gone. I think there's a very, very much a real possibility where he comes back, because he was always going to enter the draft process. That was never a question. So yeah, I'm hopefully Carter Bryant comes back, but I think that you're looking at Carter Bryant / maybe a last minute wing addition to replace Carter Bryant. Otherwise, this team is almost fully set in stone. And I like the build of it. I like the roles that are set. I like getting this developmental big. I like Evan Nelson as your backup point guard over Conrad Martinez. All of this stuff I think is shaping up to be, you're improving on the margins of where last year's roster was. You lose a guy like Caleb Love, you gain like Koa Pete and Braden Burries in his place, right? But for the most part, I think it's you're rounding out the portions of the roster that needed to be, and improving on the things that you saw last year that were mistakes and that needed to be improved upon.
I agree. It feels like Tommy Lloyd was how do I want to phrase this? It feels like last season, and I said this many times over the course of last season, It felt like Tommy Lloyd was working with a group of tools that were able to accomplish almost any job, but could you necessarily use them at the same time together in the most efficient way? And I think we saw Tommy Lloyd really, really flex his coaching muscle from a standpoint of making specifically the offense, because I think you had a lot of very talented defensive players last season regardless. So I think the defense was going to be a lot easier to figure out than the offense. I think you had a lot of offensive tools that didn't necessarily fit together. And I think you saw Tommy Lloyd really, really put a great effort and a great foot forward in making that offense efficient, making that offense effective, even though they couldn't shoot at all worth a damn. You know what I mean? And that is, in the modern game, that is a huge detriment if you're not able to shoot the basketball into having an efficient offense, because if they're not going to play the three, good luck getting into the paint. You know what I mean? That's just basketball 101. And so I was pretty impressed with Tommy Lloyd making that set of skills work. I'm very encouraged that this year it feels like a lot of those skills fit better together day one. It feels like a lot of those skill sets and play styles are a lot more friendly playing with each other than last season. And I think it's going to make it easier on Tommy Lloyd to develop the roster and make it so that by the time March rolls around again, that is the best version of the 2025-2026 Arizona Wildcats.
Certainly the case here, Kev. And yeah, I just love I love the shape of this roster. I love the way that it's building out. And another thing I love is All City's new partnership with Big Brother Big Sister, Kevin.
Oh yeah,
isn't that electric?
Yeah.
How much have you talked about on the show regarding said partnership?
I mean, if we're G-checking me right now about my discussions, I think we discussed it the first couple days. I think Spears and I maybe touched on it, but not as extensive as we probably should.
No, I mean, I wasn't checking you. It was more so I just didn't want to like speak from a place of like rehash. I'm informing the people when they already know about it. But we started off our partnership during NFL draft coverage with Big Brothers Big Sisters. I actually was watching, and they were on the stage really early on. I believe it was like in the top 5 picks, and they were doing something really cool. Big partnerships with the NFL. We're teaming up with them over at All City for a 3-year partnership that we're so pumped up about, inspiring the youth through the power of sports. All City times Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Kevin, I know that me and you are both excited to kind of get involved in this process and see how we can help out. And it's just, it's one of those organizations that, everybody can get behind the cause. Everybody can, that like knows somebody that, maybe like this is something that could have helped them when they were a child. Like just having that extra leadership and voice in your life can be so helpful to people that need it. And we're excited to be, partnered with them and just the whole youth mentorship side of things, Kevin. I think it's a really cool thing that we're doing. I said it a million times, but just fired up about this collaboration here.
I'm all the way there with you, Damon. I think like the amount of times like you look through pop culture and movies and the bully at school really just wanted to be heard at home or just have a friend to hang out with outside of school, right? And I think like the ability and the impact that you can make with, Big Brothers Big Sisters, I think goes so far beyond just your household and their household. It goes on to everyone they interact with later in life. Like you really can set someone up for social success and just make their life a better place. Make more smiles for a kid. It can change the world. Damon, we are almost out of here, but we have a couple news and notes I feel like we need to discuss before we get out of here. Devin Netz on the Arizona softball side continues to be incredible and continues to rack up the accolades. She was named one of 25 finalists for the USA Softball Collegiate Player of the Year, as announced this morning, actually, by USA Softball. Netz is hitting .359, leads the Arizona Wildcats in home runs, RBI, and with 19 W's on the mound, and as well as 98 strikeouts, just too shy of the century mark. Has a perfect fielding percentage and has assisted on 15 double plays. What can't Devin Netz do? Has her golden ticket, ready to play pro. Very excited for Devin Netz.
Certainly, listed here, Kevin. This list is going to be cut from 25 to 10 coming up here, and then later to 3. I don't anticipate Devin Netz will be on the 3 person shortlist, 3-player shortlist, but I do think that she should make that top 10 given her performance on both sides of the diamond this year. And just a really special year out of Devin Netz, who's been a really good player for this program for a long time, but has certainly like upped her level and become, the face and the star of this team this season. And it's been really cool to watch. So yeah, despite, kind of a disappointing series against Texas Tech that happened, week and a half ago and not necessarily like bringing home the championship here in the Big 12 when it comes to softball. Great season from Arizona. And Devin Netz was a massive part of the reason as to why.
And I want to I have a baseball news and note and then a quick question for you before we get out of here today, Damon.
Let's do it.
Hot, quick fire hitters right here. The Arizona Wildcats baseball team, currently sitting at 31-13, defeated New Mexico State Tuesday at High Corbett Field. I also wanted to mention that they host TCU, the Frogs, in a 3-game series this upcoming weekend.
Did you know that TCU, they call their baseball team Frog Ball?
Gross. The series begins Friday, May 2nd. Cool. I hated frog ball. Frog ball? Frog ball? I'm not stopping my train of thought any more than I have for frog ball. Toad something. Is there anything anyway, there has to be
frog
something.
Ball USA. It's one word.
Gross, man. But yeah, that series begins on Friday. First pitch on ESPN Plus, scheduled for 6 p.m. And then the question I had for you, Damon Dog, asked to us by our guy Mo on Twitter, who I know you have a lot of admiration for. And he hits right in my heart because this is one of my favorite breakfast dishes across any country on planet Earth. All right. When you were in Hawaii, did you eat the Moco Loco? Did you have a Moco Loco?
Loco Moco.
Yeah, I'm flipping it up.
You did flip it up. Yeah. I was gonna respond to Mo right after this fine podcast was over. I did not have any Loco Moco. I
Oh!
thought about it, but I did. I feel like I can. Here's where we can reconcile things and where we can kind of hopefully mend some fences here. I did have a lot of Hawaiian cuisine. That
Okay.
just didn't happen to be one of them. Had tons of spam like at every meal, basically. I was spamming it up. I
You're
was spamming
the spam.
Yeah, exactly. Spam masubi.
Gas. Fire.
Probably had 20 of them. They just sell them.
Gotta up those numbers.
They sell them everywhere, all over
Did they
the
sell them at
islands.
Circle K? Did you go to a Circle K?
I did. You know what? Damn, that was a big mistake. I should have stopped at a Circle K and seen the great Hawaiian treats that they had inside of that Circle K. That's a big mistake on my part.
It is. It is a big mistake.
I know
It's
they
actually
had
the one thing I asked you to do in Hawaii.
It is. And I know they had some spam masubi too, because they did in every gas station.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I will just say, just great breakfast, amazing, just some great fruit. Oh, unbelievable. Some pineapple, Kevin. Had a Dole Whip, which was a great experience. Teriyaki burger, a little island burger action. I mean, I was hitting all the big hitters. Had some short rib. Like I got everything in me.
I'm
Tons
hungry.
of rice. Just didn't get to that Loco Moco. And you know what? That's on me. That's on me, and I'll wear that. I'll wear that for my guy Mo. And I'll tell him, all the things that I ate, and we'll just get, Mo's a Polynesian man, so we'll see his take on it. And does he approve? Does he disapprove? Did I screw it up? Who knows? We'll just have to find out on Twitter here. After this Fine AZ Wildcats podcast. But Kevin, would that be your top one? Like if you're out in Hawaii, like that's the number one thing that you're looking at getting?
No, honestly, realistically, and my girlfriend knows this, I am a fiend for short ribs. I'll mess up some short ribs.
Bro.
So I think realistically, I gotta put short ribs one. And also realistically, I gotta put masubi two, because I'm probably gonna have so much masubi. Like if I have Loco Moco once or twice over a trip to Hawaii, does it really outweigh like the 1,567 masubis I would have eaten if I stayed as much time in Hawaii as you did?
Dude, Loco Moco is like I will say, like that's a meal that like that puts you out for like
1,000%.
for like at
Oh
least
my God,
12
yeah.
hours. Like you're not eating. You're calling it quits. You're retiring from the food game.
We do have to go to overtime though, Damon.
Let's do it.
We do have to go to overtime. Let's get overtime going. You guys know how it goes. I think we do actually have a DJ air horn in here.
Oh yeah?
Can I test that out?
Test it.
Can we? I mean, we're in overtime. This is outlaw country. Here we go.
It is outlaw country. No rules.
Oh,
Love that. Is that from our
Yeah.
little roadcaster there?
well, no, it's from this here
Oh,
menu that you're
nice.
looking at on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
should definitely add a bruh on our sound effects.
Bruh, my buddy Nick does probably the best impression of that, like actual sound.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah,
you should
maybe
get him
we'll,
to do
yeah.
like a phone, like a little
We'll have to
audio
rip that,
recording
yeah.
on the phone,
Bruh.
and then
Yeah.
send it over, and then we'll get it primed and ready to go.
We'll do it. We'll
Only
do
problem with it is that you're the arbiter of the bruh, which
Mhm.
means like to me that feels
I can bruh you more than you can bruh
definitely.
me.
That feels like
We'll
like
have
I'm
to
about
implement some sort of checks and balances.
like that's some sort of like game plan I didn't really think of there, where it's like now I'll just be bruhed all episode on everything Kevin disagrees
I'm
with.
just gonna start asking you questions
Like,
just to bruh you.
Yeah, you'll be like, did you have any Loco Moco while you were in Hawaii? No, I didn't, bruh. Like in the
bruh,
I'm trying to
bruh.
like explain it, and you just cut me off in the middle. You have your hand ready on the button just to press. But
With great power comes great responsibility. I would not abuse my powers like
Jay,
that.
you're so right. The little Hawaiian drinks you can get on the plane, unbelievable on your way out there. Plane experience. Can I just say real quick? Didn't have a middle seat on the way out there. And when I say that, I mean like I had window seat both times. I'm saying that I didn't have someone in the middle seat next to me.
Oh, I thought you meant like it was one of those two-seaters. You know what I mean? Where you don't literally have a middle seat because it ain't no middle.
Gotcha.
It's just left or right.
No, brother. I legitimately didn't have it. I mean,
that changes the game.
You know what I mean? Like my feet are as wide as possible in my chair, just chilling. And then on the way back, I did have someone next to me, but again, I got window seat and just kind of leaned up. It was a red eye on the way back, and just red eyes are just so brutal. You get off them and you just feel so bad. Like I'd love to know people's tricks for dealing with red eye flights, because it was not kind to me yesterday. I slept pretty much the entire flight, and then I got back to my apartment and immediately just like face first passed out in my bed because I was still so tired even after sleeping for like 7 hours. Because you don't get real sleep.
Yeah, and it's like you're coming down off of some sort of crazy drug. You were just on an island, which is not like, it's not a real place. No. It's a fake, magical, mystical land. You know what I mean? And now you come back to Phoenix, Arizona, which is like, fine. You know what I mean? It's whatever. Certainly not Tucson, but certainly not Hawaii. You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel for you, Damon. You did smuggle back from some snacks. I saw. So we appreciate benevolent Damon for his macadamia nuts that he brought us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, do you have anything else for us today, Damon, or are we gonna get up out of here?
Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for today. Arizona gets a commitment in Sidi Gueye. They also, have baseball, softball going on. NFL draft, big weekend for Arizona football, getting 4 draft picks. First time I believe that's happened
since 2008.
Yeah, since 2008, which is really, really cool and big moment for this program. And the most in the Big 12, Kevin. So surely we must have had a really successful season last year.
Surely that team was loaded and everybody was really impressed with the talent and coaching on the staff, right?
Yeah, things went really well, I would assume, given that we had the most draft picks in conference. But yeah, nonetheless, good exposure for the program, and those are guys that rep your school for forever, right? And I think that was the number one thing. Like when Fish left, like my first thought was like, if T-Mac has to cross that frickin' stage, and I didn't say frickin', and throw up like a Washington W with Roger Goodell on the stage, like there would be throw up everywhere around me. And instead, we get T-Mac repping Arizona on Sunday Night Football, Tetairoa McMillan, University of Arizona, every time for the rest of life.
Do you think he'll do that, or do you think he'll go like the route of like saying where he's from in Hawaii?
Well, Bijan, little known fact, I played some high school ball with him. He'll pop out a South Point Catholic high school for sure on those, but I think we'll mostly get Arizona. He'll definitely, T-Mac's a guy definitely where it's like he doesn't forget where he came from. So he'll throw in for sure like a Servite high school, no doubt about it. But I think that, it's cool to have him rep in Arizona for the rest of the time. And certainly a guy that I know every Arizona fan at the end of the day will always, support and love. So
how soon to your Panthers jersey gets here in the mail? You already bought it, right?
Totally. I'm trying to. If I did get a Panthers jersey, would you get that black one?
I'm not getting that blue one. Are you serious?
You don't like the blue?
It's not me. I can't rock the blue like that. Like
really?
If you can rock the bright blue, you should rock the bright blue. But I do not look good in that super neon blue. I do not.
So I'm not really thinking the Panthers jersey, but right now I just pictured you in like a Dolphins, like teal aqua style jersey, and I really do think that might be your color.
But even if I went Dolphins, I would go away Dolphins. I would go white Dolphins jersey.
Sure, but I'm telling you right now, like I'm picturing you in the aqua and orange, and I really do think that like you could kind of pull it off. I think it'd be fire.
I appreciate the kind words, Damon. Maybe we'll have to see.
Not the
maybe
Panthers.
I'll have to get the Panthers jersey that's blue, and we'll just have to see either it goes on my body or it goes on the wall behind me. And did I just stumble upon something? Can we get like I know we're out of here in a couple months. Sorry, but can we get like a frame with like the T-Mac? That'd be so cool.
That would be cool.
It can even be like an off-brand jersey, but it can as long as it's T-Mac is cool, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Very cool. As Max says, let's make it back-to-back years in the Rose Bowl, 100%. Because I'll never forget this year's Rose Bowl team.
Unforgettable ride.
We should do that.
3rd down and 8 in the third quarter. Oh my God!
We just write our own.
The
our
cojones
own
that Brendan had to call that play on 3rd down and 8. Had Noah Fafita running 12 yards backwards, still got the ball to the end zone. It was unbelievable.
We should definitely just like make up lore of how last season went and just pretend. What are you talking about?
Start
we won
living
4
in a
games.
fantasy land.
Look at them like they're crazy. 4 games.
We have Spears on. He's like, yeah, last year's team, obviously disappointing result. Whoa, what are you talking about?
Spears,
are you disappointed by the Rose Bowl?
Yeah.
Who was this guy? You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yep. There's no doubt about that. It was painful, but we're gonna find ways to cope through it, as we always do, Kevin. In lead up to football season, we're hyped up, ready to go, and we're gonna be giving you all the updates in Arizona athletics all throughout the offseason. We got one more super chat we got to hit here, Kevin, from Be Calm, See Clearly, and I agree. It says Damon needs a back massage. Ask Noah. I got you. I will ask Noah after this. Yeah, that actually sounds fantastic right now, a massage. But
is BComs? I think I know. Like, obviously, I know what BComs clearly is saying. But in terms of actual practical application of this, is BComs clearly saying you need a back massage? Ask Noah to give you the massage. Like, I got you for the recommendation.
Yeah.
Noah gives good massages.
Was thinking the same thing.
Or is he saying Damon needs a back massage? Ask Noah. I got you with the back massage. I give good massages. The world may never know. BComs clearly you are an enigma. And a legend. We appreciate you for your super chat.
I'm open to either. I'm really any equation that the output ends up with Damon getting a back massage is kind of an equation that I want to be a part of. So yeah, I'm not gonna be too picky about that, but I certainly will ask Noah right after this show is over. That is gonna do it for us today, Kevin. We will be back for tomorrow at a noon edition of the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am Damon Fairall. He is Kevin Thomas. You can follow him at Kevo Posts. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. And you can follow our show at PHNX_Wildcats. Follow our main account at PHNX_Sports. Become a diehard today. Just become a diehard. Kevin's working on some stuff. Gonna be a great time. We gotta get more U of A diehards in here so we can match the ASU diehards. And it is on you people to make that happen, because yes, we do not want to be, blown out of the water by gross, nasty, disgusting Sun Devils. So help us out in kind of alleviating the pressure and fixing the discrepancy. But until next time, Kevin, we'll be back, as I said, tomorrow at 12 p.m. Be there, be square. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We are 100 subscribers away from 40K subscribers on YouTube. Be that 40th K subscriber. Be a special moment. Be a special moment. Confetti will rain down from the ceiling. Who knows? You might win something. You're not going to win anything. But be our 40,000th subscriber. We appreciate everybody for watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, we'll see you tomorrow on a new edition of the AZ Wildcats podcast. Until then, peace, bear down.
And go Cats. God, that felt good.
We all silly like the mayor.